Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to another edition of Sanford High School Volleyball. JV squads are on the court. Currently 3-2, Mancos leading it. Skylar Timmons here on the call with you here this afternoon. JV is underway as that one gets blocked. Saved by Camry Casillas. Will catch up here as it's now 4-2, Mancos advantage. So we'll try and square this away here. As number 6, Trinity Angle with the serve for Mancos. 4-2 in favor of the Blue Jays. Sanford, that quick start is Letty Larson gets a block there, but Mancos able to send it back. Sanford trying to get it back over. I'll rattle around in the roof. It taps into the roofer. So 5-2, Sanford JV trailing here in the early goings. Angle with a rifle over, received by Casey Gilling. And that just missing the back line. Going up for the attack was Tinsley Aspermonte. 5-3, Sanford. And blocked there at the net. Jewel Calden and Julia Reynolds getting it done. So Sanford back in, 5-4. And I'll bring up the libero Camry Casillas. Set to serve, 5-4. Mancos leads it. Here in the first set for the JV game, dug out by the libero on that serve, Aubrey Klein. And Jewel Calden tips it off the fingertips of Zoe Gilstrip. I think that landed on the court anyhow in the backfield. So 5-5, it's all tied up once again. That service goes into the net. Well, we got a double feature today here on the YouTube events channel. We'll have volleyball here against Mancos, starting with JV, and then we'll have varsity. And then later tonight at about 6 o'clock, we'll have the football teams go up against each other. Mancos bringing the whole crew as Zoe Gilstrap finds the floor in the back row. 7-5, they lead it. So you can find us here on Sanford Events YouTube channel all evening. Well, the rest of the afternoon into the evening with you. Getting that double feature. Hopefully you don't get sick of my voice today. Julia Reynolds will drop one in on the left side. 7-6, we're going back and forth here. And the serve from Raven Medina goes right into the net. 8-6. The Blue Jays are out in front here in the early goings here in set number 1. The libero now, Aubrey Klein with the serve. Pushed over by Jewel Calden. Now up, just tapped down and landing it just out of bounds. Trying to tap it down was number 10, Kaylee Moore. Just missing her target. So the serve here from Calden goes to the back row, picked up by Klein. In the front row and right into the net goes Zoe Gilstrap. And we're all tied up at 8. Moving right along. That's the challenge with volleyball, is getting a handle of who is on the floor. That serve from Jewel Calden goes straight into the net. So advantage Mancos, leading 9-8. I'll bring up Kaylee Moore, 4th in the rotation for Mancos. Tapped over by Julia Reynolds. Mancos will handle it. Now up is Gilstrap, going to the back row. Bumped up by Calden. Now Casey Gilling trying to aim for that back corner in the right. Just missing as it goes out of bounds. 10-8, Mancos leads it now. Moore set to serve once again. That one will go straight into the net. And that's just the nature of the game sometimes. You have to remember we're here with JV. Still learning the ropes. The freshmen, girls coming up from middle school. Mancos on the attack. Smacked across, and that'll ricochet off of Calden. Coming up with the kill there, Lainey Palmer. Came up swinging big there in the front row. Calden tried to round it. As she dropped step to the side to try and bump it back across. Ends up ricocheting backward. So Gilstrap with the serve, dug out by Calden. Up to Miller, and Letty Larson trying to drop it down. A quick dump. Sanford again. Larson hits it, and it hits the top of the net. 12-9 the score here in the early goings here in set number 1. Been a rainy day, so I'm sure everybody's happy to be inside. Getting cold here in the October weather. Larson saves it, dumping it across is Gilling. Now Mancos' turn. Aspromonte came down with the hammer, nothing doing. And Gilling again gets underneath it and hits it out of bounds. 13-9, Mancos pulling away here in set number 1 for the JV squad. So Gilstrap again with the serve. Going on a little bit of a run here. That one gets tapped around, but picked up by Miller. Casillas diving. Calden will dump it with the long ball. Now coming up. Lightly hit by Palmer. Cameron Casillas dove. They bumped it up again, and Sanford again can't quite pick it up. JV's struggling to really find that rhythm here in set number 1. Up here's Aspromonte, and she'll bring it down for the kill. And now 15-9, Sanford falling behind, and they'll take their first time out here in the JV game. Set number 1 trailing 15-9. Appreciate you tuning in here. We'll have these 2 to 3 sets here for the JV, and then hopefully Varsity able to start roughly around 3 o'clock or so. And then we'll have that event, and then later on tonight we'll have football, varsity football at 6 o'clock, scheduled for kickoff. Going to be a busy day. Of course, season winding down here. I believe tonight is the last football home game, and then volleyball has one more. They'll play Custer County here at home in Sanford on Tuesday. I may or may not be here for that. Depends on scheduling with some other stuff. And here we go. Gilstrap with the serve. Calden picks it up in the back corner, or in the back row rather. McKinley Miller just dumps it over on the second hit next to the net. Going up for the block. And Aspromonte aiming for that back line. Sends it a little too far out of bounds. So Sanford cracks double digits finally, trailing by 5. That'll bring up McKinley Miller. Set to serve, Miller, one of the many freshmen on this team. That serve dug out by Aubrey Klein on the dive. Tapped across, Calden picks it up. Miller sets it over, Gilling pushed straight forward and threading the goalposts. Trinity Angle comes up with the point. Right through the hands of Casey Gilling. Went up for that block. Madison Anderson back there in the front row for Sanford. As Lainey Palmer gets set to serve for the Blue Jays. 16-10. Mancos leads it. Deep serve. Casillas handles it. The set forward, and Larson knocks it across. Now at the front row and spiked right into the net. Tinsley Aspromonte went up big. Taps right into the top of the net. Olivia Jukes tried to bump it back up, but that was hit number 4. So a little reset here on the serve from Sanford. Here's Miller up to Calden. Calden drop shots it in on the back row. Nice bit of spotting there by Jewel Calden. Sanford back in possession, 16-12, they lead it. Or Mancos leads it. And here's Casey Gilling, drops one in, dug out as she went down to one knee. Nice dive by Gilling as she labors to get up. Casillas sent it over. Mancos doing those quick little drop hook shots in that front row. Trinity Angle being a culprit. Olivia Jukes ricochets it off the top of the net. Calden tips it over. Nice little volley going here. And tooling it off the blockers, Tinsley Aspromonte. Larson and Anderson were right there for it. They got the block, but rolls off the hands. On that roll shot. Casillas handles it. Sanford will push it back over. McKinley Miller on the backswing. Aspromonte, back row. Casillas there to gather it in. Larson last minute knocks it over. A little bit of miscommunication there between Anderson and Larson on that last Sanford drive. Klein up to Aspromonte, who dumps it over. Gilling's there to receive it. Up to Miller. Calden off the top of the net. They kept it alive. Calling that the block off the top of the net. Tapped over. Still going here. And finally knocked into the net. 18-12. Finally killed that. We'll get a timeout here. So 18-12 the score here. That was quite a lengthy rally there. Finally ends with ball getting just tapped into the net. It off of Madison Anderson. Going up, ends up just tapping it straight into the net. And a thrilling volley between the two. And hey, that's what you want. One of the best rallies of the set thus far. But Sanford's still in a hole here, trailing 18-12. Buzzer goes. Now we're set to serve once again. Trinity Angle with the ball. Jump serve, comes to the back row. Gilling takes it off the chest and gets bumped forward. No one was able to really quite to recover to it. That was a rocket that came across. Calden handles it on the serve. Miller just sets it over. And lightly tapped. Olivia Jukes misjudging it. Taking a laugh at herself. Maybe wasn't expecting, didn't know if it was going to get over, but Miller just got under it enough that it reached over. So 19-13 Sanford trails. Jukes knocks it over. Casillas went down to dig it. Julia Reynolds with a miss hit, but gets it over. And a quick return by Mancos. And that one's hit underneath the net. Quick reaction there by Kaylee Moore. And then it hits off of Olivia Jukes and goes underneath the net. Sanford nets another point here. It's Camry Casillas. It over, off one hand. They'll keep it alive. As Engel sent it over for Mancos. Madison Anderson drops it in. Aubrey Klein with the set. And that just hits the line. Spotting it in, Trinity Engel. They now lead 20-14. 6-point lead here in set number 1. To 15. As that one just drops in for Sanford. Coming into the net there on Sanford's end, so pushing ahead here. 21-15. Get the serve here from Olivia Jukes. Raven Medina will sub in on Sanford's side. Out comes Anderson. In comes Lainey Palmer into the front row for Mancos. Here's Jukes from the left side. Top left on the floor. Palmer sets it next to the net. Jewel Cowden's right there to knock it back down. Trinity Engel handled it, backstepped, but her teammates couldn't pick it up. Sanford staying alive here, trailing by 5. Here's Cowden now on the serve, trying to storm back here on a run. Picked up there by Aspermonte, and that return from Sanford finds the open floor. Into the net, that one goes on me. Mancos' end. All of a sudden, Sanford back in this one close. Letty Larson back in the front row as Julia Reynolds now set to serve. And that one's right into the net. Those serves, it's sometimes hard to just, you can tell both Letty Larson, Julia Reynolds kind of in that same camp. Julia Reynolds and Letty Larson, some of them up front. It's just still judging how much power do you put into the ball to get it over. And sometimes it's just kind of hard to judge that and gauge, well, how much do you get underneath it? And that's part of JV as Jewel Cowden pushes it over and finds the floor. So that's where you get those serves into the net where there's just not enough behind it, and it's just sort of wanting to figure out how much power do you put into it when you're hitting the ball. That could be hard to gauge, especially when you're going overhand. There, McKinley Miller slaps it, and it goes into the net. And it's an example just like that of maybe not getting enough momentum behind it. Not getting it up. All that good stuff. And hey, that's what they're here to learn. 24-19. Set point here for Mancos. Miller, Larson. Larson spots it on the line. Sanford trailing by 4. They needed that one. They will have possession. Casey Gilling set to serve. As the school bell goes off on a Friday. Jukes blocked there at the net by Larson. Dug out by Casillas now. Larson trying to find that back row, and there's that hit from Larson. Sails out of bounds. That'll end the set. 25-20. Mancos takes set number 1. Hey, learning and growth here. JV, not a bad matchup still. We had some good volleys in there. Some rallies. It's, as always, making sure you're not giving away points. Fortunately, that's kind of what happened to Sanford with a couple of those missed serves there at the end, or just hitting them a little too far out of bounds. They'll look to rebound here for set number 2 in just a little bit. Mancos takes set number 1 by a score of 25-20. Set number 2 between the Mancos Blue Jays and the Sanford Mustangs, JV Volleyball. About to get underway. Mancos took set number 1 by a score of 25-0. So looking to take set number 2 and close this one out, but Sanford looking to push it to that ever-important Game 3. And first serve from Trinity Angle sails right into the net. Sanford puts their best foot forward, leading 1-0 here in set number 1, or set number 2 rather. Casey Gilling with the first serve, dug out by Aubrey Klein, the libero. And a carry there on Mancos' end. Looks like Trinity Angle, the culprit. Sanford with a 2-0 lead here to kick things off. Jukes, last minute, knocks it over. Miller with the set. Here's Calden. Tips it off the fingertips. And a nice dive by Klein to keep it alive. Picked up by Casillas. And miss hit as it rolls it down off of Olivia Jukes. There in the front row by Cowden. 3-0, Sanford leads it. And they'll let that one go. Jewel Cowden finds an open spot. Freezing there was Zoe Gilstrap. And that back row just froze. We weren't sure if it was going to land or not. Ends up doing so. 4-0 the score. In the air, pushed across by Espremonte. Into the net, and that one of those awkward spots. Sanford couldn't quite get to it. Jewel Cowden gave it a look. Nothing she could do, though. 4-1. Mancos leads it. Or, pardon me, Mancos trails it. Sanford leads 4-1. Mancos with the serve, sends it right into the net. 5-1. It's that little back and forth. Coming into that front row, Julia Reynolds. Cameron Casillas fires one into the net. So both teams playing netball for the time being on the serves. The serving overhead's tough. That's why I don't like to do it. Reynolds sends it to the back row. Klein's there to pick it up. Front row, Espremonte aiming for the back row. Misses the line. 6-2, Sanford leads it. Serve from Madison Anderson. Received well. Tipped off the blockers. Julie Reynolds, and last minute might have caught everybody off balance. Casillas didn't see a ricochet back. Managed to get a hand on it, but there was nothing underneath it. Not much else Sanford could do. 6-3 now the score. Seven 3. Sanford leads it. And we get a Mancos timeout here. 8-3, Sanford leads it. Here in set number 2, the JV volleyball game. Serve from Jewel Cowden, just missing the back line, aiming for the ace, comes up empty. 8-4 the score here. That'll bring up Zoe Gilstrap, set to serve. Dug up by Cameron Casillas. Casey Gillen having to step over her teammate, picks it up. Sanford at the net, Julia Reynolds. Tapped it over, and Mancos sends it right back. 9-5. Sanford snags one back here. Here's Julia Reynolds on the serve. Goes into the back row. Forward, dumped across, and aiming for the back row was Aspromonte. Overshoots her target though, out of bounds. 10-5. Sanford leads it. Now here's Julia Reynolds again. Klein. Angle. All set up, but Aspromonte ends up rolling it into the net on the hit. So 11-5 the score. Sanford pulls ahead. Looking like in good position to push to a third set. Tapped across by Reynolds. Dumped over by Angle. Gilling with a little dropper. Picked up by Klein, the libero. Jumping it over is Angle to the back row now. Gilstrap. Angle chases it down and dumped over by the libero, Aubrey Klein. That's it, and Mancos comes away with it. Jewel Calvin diving on the floor trying to pick it up. Couldn't quite get it. 11-6. Diving by Calden. Miller with a long set, and Gilling will fire it into the net. Both teams ended up with a lot of hits going into the net. That one goes into the net. So just exchanging blows back and forth. So far, the Nets probably put up 15 of the points that have been scored thus far. 12-7, and that serve into the net. Continuing to exchange the ball back and forth, trying to get a rally going. Here's Trinity Angle, top of the rotation for Mancos. She'll get one over. Jewel Calden gets it. Up to Anderson. Miller will dump it over finally. And a little too much on that one as it curves out of bounds. 12-9. Sanford's lost a bit of that rhythm from the first set. Here's Angle. Rifles one over Anderson with the return. Off the hand of Gilling. Casillas gets it. And a little too much underneath it by Larson. Puts a palm to her forehead. We'll get a Sanford timeout here. 12-10 the score. A lot of sloppy play here in set number 2. Ball just keeps getting hit into the net. Someone just trying to get that rhythm back. Figure out how to get something going here. Sanford had that lead, and now they've seen it disappear. Now just leading by 2 here in the timeout. Sure, Sanford is trying to calm everybody down, get that rhythm back. There's been some miscommunication and just kind of lack of movement there. Just trying to get that communication, get a nice rhythm going in their motions and rotations there on the floor. It's coming out of the timeout here. The serve from Angle, and on the return, ace. Sanford finds it in. Bounces right back, and they dropped it into no man's land. 13-10. Here's Casey Gilling. Clyde picks it up. Angle jukes, brings it down, picked up, diving in. And knocked back over, aiming for that back line, but it goes out of bounds. Miller and Calden deep in near the scorer's table out of frame. Here's Tinsley Espremonte. And a carry there. Double hit by Letty Larson. Just like that, it's a 1-point game here, 13-12. A very nice dig by Casillas. But it came over to Miller, who tried to set it, but got a little too much English on it. Carries into the net. So we're tied 13-13. That's Espremonte once again with the serve. Back row, Gilling bumps it forward. Now Anderson will dump it over. Ricochets off the hand of Trinity Angle. Sanford takes back the lead. Serve from Cameron Casillas, comes to the right side. Heel strap up forward, Calden reaches over, and that ricochets off of Espremonte. Sanford now back ahead by 2. Sanford again finding the point, 16-13. Tapped up. Reynolds just tips it over. Julia Calden. Jewel Calden. Aiming for that back row, just missing again. And that shot has just not worked out for Sanford. They keep aiming for that back row on the line, and it's just missing. Tapped forward, dumping over Gilstrap, and just missing, going for that arch. Misses the back line. 17-14, Sanford ahead. Forward, and Engel sends it to the back row. Casillas bump, the set by Miller. Gilling to the back row. Espremonte's there, tips it too far ahead as it carries Engel into the net. Diving on the attempt was Kaylee Moore trying to save it. Sanford comes away with the point, 18-14. That's right into the net. Kaylee Moore. And so we'll get a Mancos timeout here. 19-14, Sanford leads it here in set number 2. Sanford trying to push it to set number 3. As that one, it's up. It had that weird top spin English on it, and it rolls down Calden, unable to recover. So 19-15. Sanford leads it here. Here's Kaylee Moore. And that one finds open floor. Casillas unable to dive and get underneath it for the dig. 19-16 now. And again, Mancos finding the floor here. Trailing by 2 once again. And that one finds the floor again. Diving Gilling couldn't get it. 19-18. That serve goes into the net, so Sanford gets the freebie. Now 5 points away from taking the set. Still with plenty of work to do, though. Caldon with the serve. The back row off of Klein. Up, Klein will dump it back across on the third hit. Miller rushes in, bumps it forward. It gets over the net. Casillas handles it. The set by Miller to the left. Gilling drops it in. It hits off the front of Klein for the point. 21-18. They lead it here. And that spots in the back row. Casey Gilling gets it in. So that ricochets off Raven Medina. Mancos stays alive here, 22-19. Sanford leads it. Across. There's Miller at the net. Reynolds taps it over, stays out of the net, keeping the rally alive. And that one hits the judges' stand for Mancos' end. So 23-19. Sanford leads it 2 away. Forward, Miller up to Larson. Aspermonte keeps it alive. Dumped over by Laney Palmer. Reynolds gets carried, or pardon me, Lenny Larson carried into the judges' table. Keeps Mancos alive, trailing 23-20. Brings up Laney Palmer, set to serve. And a double hit there by Casey Gilling gets caught as it gets blocked at the net, ends up carrying it. So the Titans closer, 23-21. Mancos still well within striking distance. Served over by Palmer, picked up by Casillas, over to Miller. Here's Larson, gets blocked at the net, and it ricochets back. Olivia Jukes comes away with it. And we'll get a Sanford timeout here. And that one finds the open floor. That'll go as an ace. We're all tied up at 23. Mancos trying to make the run here and take set number 2 and take the match. Here's the first serve. Now from Lainey Palmer. Medina to Larson. Gilling gets carried into the net. And Mancos now has the lead. Match point for him. The Mancos varsity gets up off the bench. The serve to the back row. Casillas up to Miller. Miller to Larson. Larson sails it out, and that's your game. 25-23, they take the game. Here in set number 2. And that'll do it here for the JV matchup. Sanford falls 2-zip as they fall. They just couldn't finish it and kill the rally put up by Mancos. Take about a 15-minute break here for in between matches. So a little after 3 o'clock, we'll be ready to go here for the varsity matchups. Don't go anywhere here on the Sanford Events YouTube channel. Again, the end of the JV game. Sanford drops it in 2 sets as Mancos JV takes the victory.
Toby and Jessica Willett are proud supporters of the Sanford Mustangs. Let's ride. Come to Splash and Dash Car Wash in Lahara, located at the corner of Highways 285 and 136 for all your car washing needs. Go Mustangs!
Visit Max Machine and Repair Shop in Lahara for all your welding needs. Max Machine is a proud supporter of the Sanford Mustangs. Go Big Green.
Bart and Krista Bond proudly support the Sanford Mustangs.
If you are interested in advertising here, contact Miss Bond at the school. We can do business advertisements or Mustang supporter advertisements. Prices vary. Set up your advertisement today.
This past June, 14 Sanford students competed at FCCLA Nationals in Seattle, Washington. More than 4,300 members competed in 30 different events. Members were recognized for their proficiency and achievement in group and individual projects, leadership skills, and career preparation. Participants had the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge, skills, and abilities by addressing essential issues concerning families, careers, or communities. By researching the topic and implementing projects to advocate for positive change, students acquired valuable skills. Each state only sends 1 or 2 students in a category to compete at the national level. For Sanford to send 14 is an awesome showing. Madison Anderson and Tegan Crowther competed and received gold in repurpose and redesign. They repurposed old clothes into creative Christmas stockings. Jewel Calden, Avery Koenig, and Jalissa Peterson competed and received gold in National Programs in Action, a project on drug use. William Maloff competed and received silver in Focus on Children, a project on child safety through sanitation. Allie Jones, Riley Willett, and Tyson Jones competed and received gold in Focus on Children, a literacy program for youth. Ava Jarvis, Bella Peterson, and Hayden Peterson competed and received silver in Professional Presentation, a fire safety project. To receive gold, a person must score a 90 or above out of 100. It is difficult and an honor to receive gold at nationals. These were exceptional projects, and all competitors did amazing. Brooklyn Reynolds and Sadie Calden received the highest honor when they received first place in the nation for their project in interpersonal communication. Their project, titled Don't Confuse Abuse for Love, was a wonderful project that focused on toxicity in relationships and how abuse can often be mistaken as love. This project hit home to so many, as statistics show that 1 in 3 young people will be in an abusive or unhealthy relationship at some point in their lives. Also, 33% of teenagers in America are victims of sexual, physical, verbal, or emotional dating abuse. The impact of this project was so vast that Brooklyn and Sadie won national champion honors and almost a perfect score, 99 out of 100. Their work, their stress, their emotions, their passion, all culminated in a wonderful and impactful project. Way to go, Brooklyn Reynolds and Sadie Calden. All national competitors were able to enjoy a bit of Seattle while there. They visited the Seattle Space Needle, the Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum, and the aquarium. They were also able to go whale watching. They attended a special FCCLA night at the Seattle Mariners baseball game, and several students were able to watch the Seattle women's professional team, the Seattle Storm team. What a wonderful experience all these activities were. A special thanks and shout out to Mrs. Bagwell for all her efforts throughout the entire year of work. From late nights, work days, planning, overseeing, preparation, emotions, stress, and joys. Mrs. Joanne Bagwell puts her heart and soul into these students and their projects. She is at the helm of it all, so thank you, Mrs. Bagwell. Overall, FCCLA Nationals was an incredible success. All competitors grew as individuals throughout the entire process. Way to go to all the competitors, and congratulations to our national champions, Sadie Calden and Brooklyn Reynolds.
Toby and Jessica Willett are proud supporters of the Sanford Mustangs. Let's ride. Come to Splash and Dash Car Wash in Lahara, located at the corner of Highways 285 and 136, for all your car washing needs. Go Mustangs!
Visit Max Machine and Repair Shop in Lahara for all your welding needs. Max Machine is a proud supporter of the Sanford Mustangs. Go Big Green.
Art and Krista Bond proudly support the Sanford Mustangs.
If you are interested in advertising here, contact Miss Bond at the school. We can do business advertisements or Mustang supporter advertisements. Prices vary. Set up your advertisement today.
This past June, 14 Sanford students competed at FCCLA Nationals in Seattle, Washington. More than 4,300 members competed in 30 different events. Members were recognized for their proficiency and achievement in group and individual projects, leadership skills, and career preparation. Participants had the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge, skills, and abilities by addressing essential issues concerning families, careers, or communities. By researching the topic and implementing projects to advocate for positive change, students acquired valuable skills. Each state only sends 1 or 2 students in a category to compete at the national level. For Sanford to send 14 is an awesome showing. Madison Anderson and Tegan Crowther competed and received gold in repurpose and redesign. They repurposed old clothes into creative Christmas stockings. Jewel Calden, Avery Koenig, and Jalissa Peterson competed and received gold in National Programs in Action, a project on drug use. William Maloff competed and received silver in Focus on Children, project on child safety through sanitation. Allie Jones, Riley Willett, and Tyson Jones competed and received gold in Focus on Children, a literacy program for youth. Ava Jarvis, Bella Peterson, and Hayden Peterson competed and received silver in Professional Presentation, a fire safety project. To receive gold, a person must score a 90 or above out of 100. It is difficult and an honor to receive gold at nationals. These were exceptional projects, and all competitors did amazing. Brooklyn Reynolds and Sadie Calden received the highest honor when they received first place in the nation for their project in interpersonal communication. Their project, titled Don't Confuse Abuse for Love, was a wonderful project that focused on toxicity in relationships and how abuse can often be mistaken as love. This project hit home to so many, as statistics show that 1 in 3 young people will be in an abusive or unhealthy relationship at some point in their lives. Also, 33% of teenagers in America are victims of sexual, physical, verbal, or emotional dating abuse. The impact of this project was so vast that Brooklyn and Sadie won national champion honors and almost a perfect score, 99 out of 100. Their work, their stress, their emotions, their passion, all culminated in a wonderful and impactful project. Way to go, Brooklyn Reynolds and Sadie Calden. All national competitors were able to enjoy a bit of Seattle while there. They visited the Seattle Space Needle, the Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum, and the aquarium. They were also able to go whale watching. They attended a special FCCLA night at the Seattle Mariners baseball game, and several students were able to watch the Seattle women's professional team, the Seattle Storm team. What a wonderful experience all these activities were. A special thanks and shout out to Mrs. Bagwell for all her efforts throughout the entire year of work. From late nights, work days, planning, overseeing, preparation, emotions, stress, and joys. Mrs. Joanne Bagwell puts her heart and soul into these students and their projects. She is at the helm of it all, so thank you, Mrs. Bagwell. Overall, FCCLA Nationals was an incredible success. All competitors grew as individuals throughout the entire process. Way to go to all the competitors, and congratulations to our national champions, Sadie Calden and Brooklyn Reynolds.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a member of the Southern Peaks League and the Colorado High School Activities Association, Sanford High School Welcome to encourages all present to be leaders in sportsmanship by creating a positive environment in which our athletes may participate, our officials may work, and you, the spectators, may enjoy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please arise and remove your caps as we honor this great nation with the playing of our national anthem.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome here to Sanford High School here on the Sanford Events YouTube channel. We've got varsity volleyball set to get underway here between the Sanford Mustangs and the visiting Mancos Blue Jays. Just joined us, Skylar Timmons here with you on the call. Bit of a double feature we've got here this afternoon. We've got volleyball now, and then at 6 tonight we have football. So you can stick around here on the Sanford Events YouTube channel today. Lots of sporting events. So here we go. Looks like Sanford will start off with the serves. The Brooklyn Reynolds ready to kick things off here. Well, they had a thrilling game last week against Sargent, fortunately falling in 5 sets. And after taking the first 2, here at home against Sargent. So Reynolds will start off into the back corner, and pushing it across there is Bailey Bay. And knocking it out of bounds to the back row is Brinlyn Smith. Mancos strikes first here. And that will get the first look at Destiny Kramer for the Blue Jays. On the floor, There's Destiny Kramer, Alexis Lyons, Bailey Bay, Tinsley Espermonte, Aubrey Wyatt, Piper Franks, and the libero Brooke Jabor. Sanford gets one back here, 1-1. The back row, tipped forward by Espermonte. And a big swing there by Bay. Ends up ricocheting off. 2-1, they lead it. Brings up Alexis Lyons now for the Blue Jays, set to serve. Fired across. Smith handles it. Here's Shastabon, the senior, drops it into the back row. Ties it up at 2. Here's Avery Koenig with the serve. The back row, Espermonte picks it up. Shastabon with a high set. Reynolds up front, and Claire Crowther taps it over. Off the blockers. Bella Peterson's there to handle it. Here's Shastabon from the left side and tips it off the hands of number 13, Kaylee Moore, there in the front row. Sanford takes a 3-2 lead. So here's Avery Koenig again with the serve. Sails it across. And that ricochets off for the ace off of Moore. So what Sanford was missing in against Sargent, couldn't get those service aces. There's a serve from Koenig to the back row. Picked up there by Aubrey Wyatt. Bay will knock it across. Bond now with the second bump. Claire Crowther trying to slap it down. Nothing doing. Here's Reynolds again. Up to Riley Willett up front. Nice dive by Espermonte. Again, and Willett again tips it off. Monte's there in the back row. Now tips off the hands. Out of bounds. 4-3 the score here. Here's Bailey Bay. Nice save there by on the Stanford end. They'll send it across. Coming up, Espermonte blocked there at the net. But it rolls off the blockers for the point. Ties it up at 4. Sanford 10-6 on the year, 4-1 in league play. Play Mancos today, and then they'll have Custer County on Tuesday. That'll be their last home games, I believe. That'll be Parents' Night. And Riley Willett aiming for the back row, misses. Gives Mancos a 5-4 lead here in the early goings. Round so 5-5. Sanford gets the ball back. Rose Schwartz subs in to serve. After Avery Koenig replacing Claire Crowther. To the back row, picked up by the libero, Brooke Jabor. Dive there by Schwartz. Reynolds. Willett dumps it in. Off the hands, and that gets tipped out of bounds off of Rose Schwartz. Ties it back up at 6. Brooke Jabor as the libero to serve. Sends it lightly, and now it's headed out of bounds, but diving for it was Rose Schwartz. Tips off the hand, so the service ace for Mancos. Going from the top left to the screen. Comes to the middle row. Smith up to Reynolds. Now Shasta Bond gets denied at the net. That's Destiny Kramer coming away with the point. That was the problem Sanford ran into last week. Just kind of beating themselves. Serve comes across, picked up by Smith. Here's Willett. And she'll knock it in. Kramer. Aspermonte gets tipped away at the net by Willett. Here's Bond. Aiming for the back row. Bez there to pick it up. Aspermonte, drop shot. And that'll be a point. Coming into the, must have been a net violation on Sanford. So 6-9, Sanford trailing here. Brooke Jabor still in there to serve. Tapped over. Dumps across. Brooklyn Reynolds tips it on the top of the net. Destiny Kramer goes for the attack. Now here's Shastabon for Sanford. Back row, Bays there to pick it up. Here's Aspermonte. Tools it off the blockers as it goes out of bounds. And we'll get a rotation here. Kaylee Moore will sub in. 10-6, here we go. Dug out by Smith, set by Reynolds. Bond denied there at the net, but it gets knocked out of bounds by Kaylee Moore. So Sanford gets a break there as it tools off that blocker out of bounds. Here's Bond now for the serve. 10-7, Sanford trails it. Vermonte from the back row snipes it in for the kill. And pardon me, that's Aubrey Wyatt. I've been saying the wrong name. That is Aubrey Wyatt, number 8. My eyes are going bad. I thought it was a I thought it was a 1 on her jersey. So number 8 is Aubrey Wyatt, who's been in there this time. Aspermonte has not been on the floor. Serving now, Piper Franks, and that sails out of bounds. So Sanford will take the freebie and say thank you. Now here we go. In the back row from Brinlyn Smith on the serve. Wyatt rather, high in the air. Picking it up was Alexis Lyons. Here's Lyons again with the set. Wyatt into the net. Just misses the back line. Brinlyn Smith came inches away from getting that ace. 12-9. Here's Aubrey Wyatt. Safe to assume her mother is the head coach for Mancos. Dug out there by Wyatt, who does the splits. Big swing by Bailey Bay. Franks to the front. Here's Bay. Tips it over, dug up by Rose Schwartz. Bella Peterson taps it off the net, and they are going to get this one back over. Smith up to Reynolds, who dumps it over. Piper Franks. And a double hit there on Alexis Lyons, lost her balance, falling backward. 12-10 now, Sanford trails. Here is Brooklyn Reynolds at the top of the rotation. double hit there. 13-10, Mancos leads it now. Well, Sanford on average on the year per set, averaging about 7.6 kills per set while attacking. Bella Peterson leading the way with an average of just under 2. As that hits the net, hits the antenna, resulting in a Mancos point. Blocking wise, they have 72 on the year, about 1.2 blocks per set. That one sails out of bounds from Claire Crowther. They fall behind now 15-10. Sanford will take their first timeout by Coach Melissa Fawcett. Trying to rebound here. They trail by 5 here in set number 1. Gene the Sergeant, Sanford Mustangs and the Mancos Blue Jays.
Fans, if you know anyone who isn't able to make it to today's event, including the football game this evening, we are live streaming on YouTube, the Sanford Events channel. Just search Sanford Events, and anyone could tune in for the action, including the play-by-play by yours truly. Also, be sure to check out the good over by the door, and also be able to go check out concessions this evening.
See, here we are, coming out of the timeout, 15-10. Sanford trails it here in the early goings in set number 1. And we'll have Destiny Kramer, top of the rotation, will serve it. Stand still to the back row. Shastabon receives it. Dumping it over next to the net is Brooklyn Reynolds. Piper Franks now for Mancos. Up to Bailey Bay, who knocks it out of bounds. Big swing, sends it to the back row, out of play. That'll bring back in Brooke Jabor, the libero, in the back row. Handled by Aubrey Wyatt. Now up front, Tinsley Aspromonte back in there. Row, Jabor up to the Lions, and Bay to the back row. Reynolds now for Sanford. Here's Avery Koenig, tips it off the net, but they recover on Mancos' end. Bond now. Here's Wyatt from the back row. Koenig gathers the set by Reynolds, and aiming for that back row is Claire Crowther. Bonks her head in frustration on the padding of the net. Frustrated as she overshoots her target again. 16-11. Got that good swing. Sanford just can't get quite on top of it. Piper Franks will sub out. In comes Kaylee Moore in the front row, as Alexis Lyons gets set to serve here for Mancos. Brenlyn Smith's there to handle it. Here's Avery Koenig on the attack. Tips it off the blockers, and it ricochets just absolutely dead in the ball as it falls harmlessly on the line. Sanford gets the kill. Brings up Avery Koenig. Well, speaking of serving, Sanford averaging about 10.9% acing. They've got about 2.3 aces per serve this season. As Shastabon sends it over, and that's going to fall down. Miscommunication there. Aubrey Wyatt hit it forward. Alexis Lyons, Bailey Bay just kind of watched it fall harmlessly in the air. So they'll bring up Koenig again here with another serve. 16-13, Sanford trailing here. Serve comes to the right side, high in the air, bounces off the roof. Jabor handles it, and they'll dump it across. Reynolds with the set. Here's Crowther, and finally gets the kill. The bench explodes in jubilation. Claire Crowther finally gets that swat she's been looking for. Perfectly placed, and that serve goes into the net from Avery Koenig. So 17-14, but a good little run there for Avery. Bringing Bailey Bay. Bailey Bay? Not sure how to pronounce it. B-E-H. Unless it's just Bailey B. But block there at the net, goes out of bounds. Sanford losing another point. It's a hard time as a broadcaster or announcer. I can't quite figure out how to say their names sometimes. It gets difficult. And a tip over, that's going to be that carry on Brooklyn Reynolds. That has been one that she's been called a lot this season. Really came back to bite him against Sargent last week. Bella Peterson handles it. Reynolds will chase it down, and Shasta Bond will tap it over. And they're going to knock it over on the third hit. Reynolds with a jump set. Avery Koenig on her back foot, high in the air. Bay will hold it up, and Jabor will dump it across. Here's Shasta Bond with a swing, and it tips off the blockers. Aspermonte and Wyatt, the coach's kids, right there at the net. They had that block almost, but it just rolls off harmlessly back behind him on the slight ricochet. So I'll bring in Rose Schwartz, set to serve for the Mustangs. 19-15, Sanford leads it. Soft serve to the left side. Bay handles it. Here's Aspermonte, blocked there at the net, and she taps it in underneath. Riley Willett, Shasta Bond there to block it. Well, on blocking, blocking-wise, as there's a service ace from Rose Schwartz. Targeted Bailey Bay and couldn't handle it. But on terms of blocking, Shasta Bond averaging 1.7 blocks per, that's kills rather. I was looking at blocks. Back row ricocheted. Here's Kaylee Moore, and she'll find an open floor past a diving Brinlyn Smith. So 20-17, Mancos leads it. But in terms of blocks, Shasta Bond has averaged 0.2 blocks per set. Has 12 total blocks, 31 to Avery Koenig on the year. So there are some good blockers for the Mustangs down low, and dropping the hammer is Aubrey Wyatt. Dunks it in for the point. 21-17. In terms of serving, return serves, or receiving serves as Shasta Bond swings. Bailey Bay, Lions, Wyatt snipes it into the back row. 22-17. So we'll get a Sanford timeout here. So service returns. Brinlyn Smith leads the way with 335 on the serve. Next closest, Bella Peterson with 263. And then Shasta Bond with 121. And then Claire Crowther, 102. There on the recipients. Return errors, though. Brinlyn Smith with 46. So that's been something that has hurt Sanford, those errors on the returns. Really been detrimental. So Brooke Jabor set to serve. Comes across. Up there by Brinlyn Smith, and they'll dump it across. Shasta Bond. Back up, here's Aubrey Wyatt. Taps it over to the right. Shasta Bond's there to handle it and reaching into the net. Sanford with the net violation. (23-17). Here for Mancos with the lead. Moore with the jump serve. Britton Smith handles it. Here's Shastabon. And just gets it in on the line. Line judge right there on the call. 18-23, Sanford trails. Here's Shastabon now with the serve. Into the back row, handled by the libero. Aubrey Wyatt tipped at the net by Riley Willett. Bella Peterson brings it across. Here's Aubrey Wyatt, tips off of Willett again. Brooklyn Reynolds handles it. And Peterson will just drop it over. And they're trying to tip it across, but ends up on the carry. Right there next to the net. That might have been Destiny Kramer. Everybody was doing their best. Last-ditch effort to try and get it over the net. Bond serves it to the back row. Here's Wyatt and gets tripped up trying to jump over her teammate. Alexis Lyons tried to drop out of the way. No room for Wyatt to come in and knock it down. 23-20. Stanford trying to crawl back in. Here's Wyatt from the left side, and they'll ricochet that off of Rose Schwartz. Just bringing in a bullet for the kill. So set point here for Mancos is Piper Franks. The senior will stand in. Sends it to the back row. Smith bumps it forward. The set by Reynolds. Here's Peterson. Blocked there. Ricocheted at the net. And that's going to be the set. 25-20. Mancos takes set number one. Sanford looking to rebound here as we get ready for set number two. It was a tough one. Sanford just fell behind those mistakes. Just getting blocked there at the net.
Mancos takes set number one by a score of 25-20.
Set number 2 underway here. That's tipped out of bounds. So Mancos quickly ahead 2-zip here in second set. Avery Koenig spikes one in and handled by Aubrey Wyatt. But Piper Franks diving on the misstep. Destiny Kramer trying to bump it forward. Piper Franks couldn't quite adjust to it. So Sanford comes away with the point. Here's Brooklyn Reynolds now. First serve comes across, dug out by Piper Franks, but that sails into the antenna out of bounds. So 2-2. Wyatt to the front. Lyons over to Bay. She'll drop it across. Picked up by and they'll get it over. By an open floor, caught Bella Peterson on her off foot. So Mancos takes the 3-2 lead. Comes across, picking it up. There is Jastaban. Claire Crowther went up for the spike, and I think she miscalculated or just mishit. Rolls off the fingers. It's now 3-3 the score. Dug out there by Aubrey Wyatt, and that's miscommunication. Jastaban looking like she was going to go for it, and then Brooklyn Reynolds came running in. Take a timeout here. Melissa Fawcett, Coach Fawcett for Sanford, a little fired up here. You know, we're seeing that it's just the mental errors. You know, there is the talent there for Sanford, and you know, they've shown plenty this season. When they're rolling, they can be really good. But it's just those mental errors that start to creep in. Where execution, 10-6 on the year. No, they've been doing their job in league, but still overall on the year, you can see those struggles. At home, they're 2-3 at home. They have struggled to take care of business here in Sanford. Now trailing 4-3. Here in the second set after losing set number 1, 25-20. Here's Reynolds up to Bond. Bond gets denied at the net. That's Kaylee Moore with the block. Up and just tapped over by Crowther. Jastaban scoops it backward. Claire Crowther drops it in. Aboard the libero, saves it. Here's Aubrey Wyatt. Hits, rolls it into the net. Sanford getting a much needed point on that one. And it's 5-4. Here's Avery Koenig with the serve. Dug out by the libero. Now Aubrey Wyatt drops it over. Reynolds with the bump set. Claire Crowther going up for the kill, and again, getting underneath it or getting on top of it too much. Sends it into the net. You see those things, that's what I was talking about, is that serve goes into the net. And it's not necessarily to criticize or bash on him. You can see all the parts are moving. There's just the final execution on some things. Drop in as Claire Crowther drops in the ace. Sometimes the execution is what is lacking at times for this team. There's so many things they do right, that they do well, and you see it throughout the game. It's just consistently executing. Right there, another block there by Riley Willett at the net to deny Aubrey Wyatt as it got ricocheted backwards. So Sanford gets that point back. They now lead 7-6. Here's Aubrey Wyatt, taps it across. Brynlyn Smith pushes it forward. The set by Reynolds, tapped over lightly by Shasta Bond. And that just gets shanked out of bounds by Kaylee Moore, who immediately hugs her teammate, Alexis Lyons. Sanford now leading 8-6. Here's Claire Crowther again. Wyatt up front to Lyons. Wyatt again, fired in, saved by Bella Peterson. They might have double hit that, but the power of friendship prevails. Here's Aubrey Wyatt again, rolls it off the fingertips of the blockers. They'll get it back across. It was mishit by Peterson. Mancos recovered nicely. Shasta Bond rolls it off the blockers, and they get tapped there. They get trapped in the juggle there at the net. And we'll get a Mancos timeout here. 9-6, Sanford leads it here. The execution working a lot better now. So you get that ebb and flow through the game, and they just have to keep up that momentum. Well, that momentum can shift so quickly in volleyball. And you're hoping Sanford can keep that rolling here. They now lead by 2, or lead by 3 rather. Had to do my quick math. Leading by 3, keep that pressure on. See if Claire Crowther can get a service ace here. Looking to that right side. Sends it to the back. Aubrey Wyatt up front. And going up for the kill. Destiny Kramer brings it down. Subbing in as Piper Franks will come in to go serve now. Tapped across. Here's Bella Peterson up to Brooklyn Reynolds. Shasta Bond rolls it off the blockers for the point. 10-7 and a little back and forth here. Only 17 points scored. In the air, here's Wyatt, pushes it deep. Claire Crowther maybe should have let that one go, but Bella Peterson will jump it in. Piper Franks pushes it over. That's going to be a point for Sanford. That double hit by Piper Franks went for that deep set. Try and push it over. So they lead 11-7. Here's Shasta Bond with the serve. Back row. And sniping on the back corner, Aubrey Wyatt with the kill. Pardon me, that might have been Alexis Lyons getting the point. So here's Aubrey Wyatt with the serve. Jump serve, gets to the middle row, dug deep by Claire Crowther. And Bella Peterson hits that one out of bounds. (11-9). And that serve goes straight into the net. So they will take the freebie, and that'll bring up Brynlyn Smith. The libero as Avery Koenig comes into the front row with Brooklyn Reynolds and Bella Peterson. Koenig in that middle spot. The jump blocked there at the net. Bailey Bay will knock it over just kind of nonchalantly. Taps it over and finds open floor. 12-10. Here's Destiny Kramer. Smith handles it. Reynolds a long set. Bella Peterson with the kill. Past a diving Kramer. Dug out. There's a big hit there by Bailey Bay. A tall weapon there at the front net, and just brings down a hammer. 13-11. Sanford leads it. I'll bring up Alexis Lyons on the serve. Claire Crowther will receive it. Here's Reynolds up to Peterson. Goes to the left side. Hit by Alexis Lyons. They'll drop it over. Bond with was the recipient. Claire Crowther will slap it over. Bay lightly taps it over the blockers. There's that height advantage. Blockers are right there. She decides to just do a little tap, tap, taparoo to get it over. Bond with the diving dig. And blocked there at the net again. Bay comes away with it. Just like that, we're tied up at 13, and Sanford will call a timeout here. Back of the timeout. 13-13, we're tied here in set number 2. Here's Aubrey White from the middle row, pushes it over, dive by Bond. Avery Koenig carries into the net. Tried to save it. Her hand carries and grazes the net. Sanford's behind 14-13 now. Bond with the dig, Reynolds now. Here's Peterson, stand still overhead hit. And a big swing. And it ricochets off the hands of Bella Peterson. Fans aren't happy, but it did look like he got redirected a little bit off the hands. 15-13 the score. Alexis Lyons now set to serve. Big swing there. Claire Crowther comes away with it as it ricochets off of Brooke Jabor. Sanford needed that one. 15-14. They trail it. And that kill coming in. Bailey Bay hits it off of Brooklyn Reynolds. 16-14. And that'll be a service ace. Bella Peterson getting that sinking liner Dug down to get it, but it ricochets away. 17-14 now. And that'll hit off of the error by Brinlyn Smith now. 14-18 the score. Esteban now moving in to the attack position. The set by Koenig. Hits off Jabor, but handled. Wyatt now dumps it in. Bump set. Here's Koenig, blocked there at the net. And get tangled up again. Aubrey Wyatt there to help with the block. 14-19 as Mancos pulls away here. An illegal formation on the floor by Sanford. Not sure where they're supposed to. Brooklyn Reynolds not sure where she was supposed to be. That serve goes out of bounds. So Sanford trailing 15-20. Off comes Brinlyn Smith. Riley Willett back in. Now set to serve as Avery Koenig. In the air. Set forward. Here's Aubrey Wyatt and springs it down, and it just rolls off of Bella Peterson. 21-15. Sanford had held on to a narrow margin. Mancos tied it up at 13. And now they have a commanding 21-15 lead. Claire Crowther tools it off the blockers. They were right there, but it hits off the side of the forearms. Sanford trying to stay alive here. 21-16 they trail. Lost set number one, 25-20. Peterson bumps it forward. The set by Reynolds. Here's Bond, and it ricochets off the net. Light tap across. That was headed out of bounds, but they keep it alive. Reynolds now with the set. Riley Willett eats up Bailey Bay, but they keep it alive. Nice dig by Bond, and they'll get it back across. What a job there by the Mustangs. Blocked at the net. Nice job there. Riley Willett comes through with a block. Claire Crowther now on the serve. 21-17 the score. Here's Aubrey Wyatt. She'll just lightly bump it across. Bond aiming for that sideline. Just misses off the target. 22-17. So here comes Piper Frank, set to serve. Next for the Blue Jays. And that one will deflect off of the recipient. 23-17. Mancos now 2 away from taking a 2-0 lead here in the game, in the match. Crowther bumps it forward. Here's Bond now. And she'll snipe it into that back corner. Shasta Bond with the kill. Here's Shasta Bond. Into the back row, handled by Brooke Jabor. Aubrey Wyatt finds a spot in the back row on the left side. And now, set point here for the Blue Jays. Leading 24-18. Aubrey Wyatt with the serve. Koenig up to Reynolds. Bella Peterson finds the open floor. Sanford looking for that miracle run right now. Trying to even this set up. not fall behind 2-zip. Up to Riley Willett. Here's Riley with the serve. To the back row, Piper Franks up forward. Lions. Here's Bay, tips off the hands. Willett, they're in deep territory. Reynolds will send it across. The ball up to Lions. Here's Bay. Off the blockers, still alive into the net. Still alive, they'll get it back over. They played with fire, they stayed alive, and that one sails out of bounds to the back row. A big swing by number 10, Bailey Bay. Sanford now trails by 4, trying to stay alive. Here's Willett again. Moore with a dive. Dumped over. Bond will dig down to get it. Reynolds now. And Bella Peterson to the back row. Wyatt handles it. Here's Bay again. Lightly tapped, but brought down by Koenig. Dumped across by Brooklyn Reynolds. Here's Bay again from the mid-range. And finds open floor. That's the set. And another score, 25-20. And Mancos has a 2-0 lead. Rough one again. Mancos got on that roll after they tied it up at 13 and then just kept rolling. Sanford now will have to try and dig themselves up out of this deficit, trailing 2-0 as we get ready for set number 3 here on the Sanford Events YouTube channel. Don't go anywhere. Set number 3 about to get underway here between the Sanford Mustangs and the Mancos Blue Jays. Skylar Timmons here with you. Here on the Sanford Events YouTube channel. Again, double feature today. Got volleyball And then at 6 o'clock tonight, we will have the football teams go up against each other. Mancos brought down the football team as well. So it's 6 o'clock here on the YouTube, the events channel. Be able to catch all the action. Join me for some football this evening. It's final football home game for Sanford of the regular season. And then I believe what's left is a home game against Custer County for Sanford here on Tuesday. Fall sports winding down, and then before we know it, be basketball season before too long. Be a fun go of it here as error there by Sanford on a double hit. Mancos takes a 1-0 lead here in set number 3. Destiny Kramer with the serve for Mancos. And that one's going to head out of bounds by Sanford. In the hole here, owed it 2-0. Peterson bumps it forward. There's Reynolds. Now here's Bond. Into the net it goes. So a sluggish start here in set number 3 for Sanford. Trying to plow ahead. An illegal hit there, the double hit called on Brooklyn Reynolds. They're down 4-0. Shasta Bond came up big on the swing on the attack from the left side. But instead, she spikes it right into the net. And immediately they're in a 5-0 deficit, down 2-0. If you're Mancos, you're feeling pretty confident here to start things off. This one gets ricocheted way back, and it's going to get kicked into the seats. Line judge went running out of the way. Sanford gets on the board there. Big swing there by Shasta Bond. And now Sanford will get their first set here. The first turn to serve, Claire Crowther. Zinn. Instead, Mancos comes away with the point. Ridley Smith back in there. She'll take place in the back row. Here's Alexis Lyons on the serve. Dug out by Crowther. Bella Peterson to the back, to the mid-range. Bailey Bay punches it over, and that'll go out of bounds. Serve from Avery Koenig. Ricocheted away. Pushed to the back row. Crowther's there to handle it. Up to Reynolds. Now Bond from the right side. Ricocheted back. Aubrey Wyatt deep in territory. The libero mishits it and skews it back into the seats. That ball just did not want to go forward. Served by Koenig. Wyatt up to Lyons. Bay knocks it over. Reynolds there to receive it and dumped over by Bond. And that's going to go into the judges' table. So Sanford comes away with another one. 6-4 now the score. Just Koenig again. Top, and Bond let it go after leaping for it. Reynolds couldn't quite pick it up on the back end. Falls harmlessly on the floor. Peterson, picked up by Bailey Bay. It goes, fired to the back row. Tipped over. Tapped across by Willett. Here's Lyons, now Aubrey Wyatt. Up off the hands of Brinlyn Smith. And miscommunication there. Bella Peterson and Brinlyn Smith just converged on it. We'll get a Sanford timeout here. They converged on it, and it ended up 2 on it. Nobody gets it. So 8-4 now the score. Sanford falling behind. The Bay with the serve now, coming out of the timeout. Sanford trailing 8-4. Brenlyn Smith will, last minute, bump it up and over the net. 9-4 now. Sanford falls behind. Got by Smith in the air. And Bella Peterson gets set up and spikes it into the net. 10-4 now. And that one will ricochet off of Alexis Lyons. Sanford gets that point they've been looking for. Hopefully that can start to change their fortune. They trail 10-5. Here's Shasta Bond. And it goes. Aubrey Wyatt at the net. Brings it down as it rolls off. Brooklyn Reynolds. 11-5. Esteban diving, returns it back, and bringing it down right away is Destiny Kramer right there to send it back where it came from. Sanford is just not getting those controlled hits they want to place it. They're getting those little weaker hits, drifting over right next to the net, and it's practically teeing it up for Mancos to bring it down. So 11-6. Well, Sanford ends up coming with that point. Coming into the net was Mancos. So I misspoke there. There's Aubrey Wyatt, punches it across to her teammate. Ends up being 4 hits. So all of a sudden, Sanford's got those back-to-back points, trailing 11-7. Here's Bella Peterson again with the serve. That'll tool off of Riley Willett. Aubrey Wyatt with the point as Piper Franks will sub in, replacing Kaylee Moore. And Aubrey Wyatt set to serve. Bella Peterson up to Reynolds. Reynolds with the set. Claire Crowther punches it over. Aubrey Wyatt to the back row. Peterson up to Reynolds. Mid-range, Crowther will send it over. Libero Jabor. And carried into the net there is Alexis Lyons. Tried to go with the run by, tap it over. Ends up carrying into the net. So Avery Koenig will come in. And Rose Schwartz will come in. Schwartz going in to serve. There's the serve from Schwartz. And that'll go down as an ace. Piper Franks in the back row diving for it. So Schwartz, that serving specialist. Jump serve, gets it into the back row. Wyatt in the front row, tapped across by Koenig. Here's Wyatt again, tips off the blockers, but right there is Bond. Claire Crowther rolls it off the top of the net. Koenig, I'm getting everybody's names mixed up. And that finally eats him up. Claire Crowther knocked it down across. Eats up Bailey Bay and pinballs around. So Sanford rolling back in. They trailed 12-10, but on a good momentum roll here. There's W up there. And that one rolls into the net. Jastabond on the swing. So 13-10. Olivia Jukes, the JV squad, will sub in here. She'll get set to serve, number 15. The junior. Sends it across the back row. Bella Peterson handles it. Claire Crowther punches it down. Piper Franks there to dig it out, though. Bailey Bay off the recipients. Ball still in the air. Shasta Bond sends it back across. Reflexes there, worked out, and the block kill by Brooklyn Reynolds. Went up for the block, sent it right back down into no man's land. Mancos couldn't believe it. So here's Brooklyn Reynolds now with the serve. And that one goes straight into the net. She might have been a little too hyped up from getting that point. It sends it into the net. 14-11. Sanford was pumped up after that kill. For all that block point. Clark Crowther sends it to the back row. Called the carry there. That ball almost got back over, but the whistle had been called earlier on a carry. So here's Claire Crowther. 14-12, Sanford trails. Aspromonte. Rose Schwartz pushed it forward. Dumping across was Reynolds. Bailey Babe gets blocked at the net. Jabor is there to save it, and then Aubrey Wyatt sends it into the net. Sanford now trailing 14-13. Working on that comeback, trying to tie it up here. Cross Piper Franks over to Lyons. Here's Wyatt, and that'll sail. We're tied up at 14. Timeout, Mancos. So momentum shifting, 14-14. Sanford has tied things up here. Looking to push this to a game 4. Mancos leads 2-0 here. So tied up 14 all. Here's Claire Crowther with the serve. Piper Franks, upper forearms, gets it up in the air. Bailey Bay will dump it across. Crowther with the bump. The set by Reynolds. Shasta Bond rolls it off the blockers. Miscommunication by Brooke Jabor and Bailey Bay. Not sure who was going to get it. Sanford now with the lead. 10 more points. They could see if they could snipe a set here. Spermonte gets blocked at the net by Koenig. And tapped over by Shasta Bond. Gets the point. Sanford riding that momentum. Piper Franks sends it back over. Koenig tips it off the top of the net. Sent to the back row. Set forward. Now the set to the left. Bella Peterson snipes it for the kill. In comes Kaylee Moore to replace Piper Franks. Claire Crowther now still on the serve. 17-14, Sanford leads. And that serve goes out of bounds. So 17-15. That'll bring up Alexis Lyons on the serve. Here we go. And that one's into the net. 18-15. Sanford trails. Or Sanford leads, rather. Brinlyn Smith now on the next serve. Jump serve to the back row. Picked up by Aubrey Wyatt. Cross. Picked up there. Shasta Bond into the net. Will violate the line. It's 18-16, and here's Bailey Bay. And she'll get the service ace. Claire Crowther dove down to dig it. I think it bounced off her hands, bonked her on the forehead, and ricocheted away. Goes back to Crowther again. Reynolds now up to Bond. Bond sends that one out of bounds. And we're tied up at 18. Mancos trying to sweep it. Sanford trying to stay alive. Reynolds with the set. Here's Peterson. Tips it off the top of the blocker's fingertips. And it falls down for the point. They pull ahead now. 19-18. Now here's Wyatt. Snipes it on that back row on the line. Nice placement there by Aubrey Wyatt on the kill. Ties it up at 19. Here's the libero, Brooke Jabor ready to serve. And apologize if I mispronounce names and whatnot. And that's a service ace on the back line. Pull ahead now, 20-19. Sanford in the hole. The jump serve, bounces off. Cross picked up. Here's Aubrey Wyatt. The back row, Smith up to Reynolds. Now here's Bella Peterson. That's into the net. Mancos back ahead here, 21-19. And we'll get a Sanford timeout here. So 21-19, Mancos leads it here. Sanford calling the timeout. That's Sanford point coming into the net. Mancos with a violation. 20-21. Sanford back within striking distance. By striking distance, I mean 1 point. How far out do you have to be for it to be considered striking distance? Riley Willett ricocheted back. Riley Willett again sends it over. Aubrey Wyatt finds open floor. Just gets out. Just gets it in past the hands. 20-22. Match point growing closer for the Mancos Blue Jays. Looking for that three-game sweep. Serve goes into the net. Sanford will stay alive. Substitutions here. Rose Schwartz will come in now for Sanford. She'll get ready to serve here. Hoping for that ace in the hole. Give them what they need. Schwartz to the back row. Picked up by the libero into the net. And that's out of bounds. We're tied up at 22. Mancos on the year, 13-5 overall, 7-2 in their league play. The 2A, 1A San Juan Basin. And that falls out of bounds on the serve. So they pull ahead by 1. Mancos lost their last outing against Ignacio 3-0. They have mostly swept a lot of their outings as Claire Crowther spots it in for the kill. Ties it back up. Sanford back in possession, and here's Brooklyn Reynolds. Ready to serve. And Bailey Bay spots it in. Match point now for Mancos with control. Destiny Kramer set to serve. Kramer with the serve to the back row. Peterson up to Reynolds. Here's Bond. Pushes it across. And she'll spot it in for the point. And now it becomes the first to 2. Practically starting 0-0. Here's Claire Crowther. Bumped across. That's going to find open floor. Now match point again for Mancos. Here's Alexis Lyons. She's had a couple of serves go into the net. Sanford hoping for that right now. Back row, Schwartz. Up to Reynolds. Here's Koenig. Wyatt's there to receive it. Lyons up to Bay. Rolls it off. Schwartz is there to receive it. Over to Peterson. Tipped at the net. That's going to fall for the point. Tied up again. Here's Brenlyn Smith on the substitution. The serve. Tip there at the net. Monte. Kaylee Moore. And that's shanked out of bounds. Sanford now ahead. Set point for Sanford. Trying to push this to a game 4. And we'll get a timeout here by Mancos. Well, this one has turned into a back and forth affair. Sanford had the lead, and they had to make the comeback. Bouncing back and forth. Mancos leads 2-0 here in the match. Looking to make it the sweep. Sanford fighting to stay alive here. Football players have already dissipated back out heading outside, likely to warm up and stretch, do all that they need to prep for their game in about an hour and a half. So here we go, Sanford with a set point. Here's Brynlyn Smith. Tips off the top of the net. They can't get alive. Sanford takes the set. We're going to a game 4. 27-25. So now we'll sit and reset. Set number 4. Ready to get underway here. Between the Mustangs and the Blue Jays. Mancos almost had it, but Sanford ends up point. A beautiful serve by Brynlyn Smith closes that set out. Libero Brooke Jabor was just a step back too far. And it gets ricocheted up forward into the net. They couldn't recover. So set number 4, score of 2-1. Mancos leads it. Here on this Friday afternoon on the Sanford Events YouTube channel. About an hour and a half, we'll have Sanford football over at the football field. You'll still be able to catch us here on YouTube channel. Been a busy afternoon. JV losing 2-0 to Mancos. Now the varsity stays alive for at least one more set. Set number 4 underway here between Sanford and Mancos. And Claire Crowther will dump it over. Brynlyn Smith on her last foot and placing it in there just out of bounds. Brooklyn Reynolds thought she had the point, but just missed on the line. Here's Destiny Kramer on the serve. Reynolds now with the set. Claire Crowther spikes it in. Nice dig there by Aubrey Wyatt. Might have caught Piper Franks off guard. Ricocheted towards her, and not much else she could do. 1-1, we're tied. Here's Reynolds with the serve. Sanford has shuffled that rotation on the serving. Claire Crowther now takes first kicks for Sanford, now followed by Brooklyn Reynolds. Into the back row, 2-1, Sanford leads it. Bailey Bay knocks it in. Here's Avery Koenig to the back row. set, and that'll carry out of bounds on the set. 3-1 Sanford leads it. Dug up by Piper Franks and can't do much with that. A service ace for Reynolds. Sanford jumps out to a 4-1 lead to kick things off here in set number 4. They've been looking for something like this. They've been missing the service aces. They have served much better in this one. Not as many into the net. And that's going to get ricocheted around. Bailey Bay gets caught off guard. Sanford leading 5-1. That will ricochet off the blocker. 5-2. Mancos gets a point back. Substitution here. Kaylee Moore will come in for the Blue Jays as Alexis Lyons gets set to serve. Here's the serve. Bella Peterson in the back row up to Reynolds, and Shasta Bond overshoots her target. Sails out of bounds. 5-3. Alexis Lyons back to serve. Bella Peterson to the back row. Set across. Here's Bailey Bay, and she'll find the point on the sideline. Jewel Caldon subs in for the Mustangs, take over in that back row. And the ball finds her immediately. Reynolds slaps it across, skips it off the top of the net. Ties it up at 5. They'll send it back on the initial receipt, on the recipient, and Bailey Bay ricochets it down, finds the open floor, and we'll get a Sanford timeout here. 6-5, Mancos leads it here in set number 4. The back row, Brinlyn Smith now here in coming out of the timeout. And a big swing by Claire Crowther comes up empty. Bay to the back row, Peterson handles it. Here's Crowther again, sends it to the back. Aubrey Wyatt's patrolling. As Bailey Bay again tips it off the blockers. Avery Koenig now, picked up by Lyons. Wyatt forward, punched across and coming into the net. Down, so Sanford snags the point, tied up at 6. These have been close matches for the majority of the game. There's just at some point, early on, they're really close. Then at some point, that stays on. Well, it hit off the ceiling almost on the line. So slightly to the left, to the right that you can see on the camera. There's the crossbar on the roof, on the ceiling. It hit off of that and ricocheted back onto Sanford, or back onto Mancos' end. They blew a whistle. So they might just replay it. It went over, it hit on Sanford's side and then ricocheted back. So they'll just replay it. So there's the initial confusion. We're tied at 6. So Claire Crowther should be serving. We'll just replay the point. Forward, here's Bay. Reynolds now. Bella Peterson. Nothing doing. And sniping it in on the corner is Avery Koenig. There's Claire Crowther again on the serve. And just missing out of bounds. Big swing by, well, I guess they did call it in. Tied up at 7. I thought the flag signal said didn't go in, but illegal formation on the floor by Sanford. Set by Reynolds. Here's Koenig. 8-7 the score. Aubrey Wyatt into the back row. Handled by Brinlin Smith. The set by Reynolds. Bella Peterson with the kill. Ties it back up at 8. And Brinlin Smith's serve goes straight into the net, so Mancos again back ahead, 9-8. Like I said, these matches have been close at the start, and then there's just a point where one team just pulls ahead with the momentum and doesn't look back for a while, and then it gets hairy again in those last couple of points, and that rolls off the blockers. So Bella Peterson snags the point. Tied up at 9 again. Well, the judges are going to reconvene. Talking about something. And Shasta Bond, who came in to serve, sends it into the net. So 10-9, Mancos back ahead. Piper Franks now set to serve. Comes across, picked up. Here's Bond from mid-range. Off the libero and gets in for the kill. The mid-ranger. Brooke Jabor gets caught, so tied back up at 10. It's just point for point here in set number 4. Jabor up front to Lions. There's Wyatt, misses out of bounds. Sanford wisely lets it go. Cross Brinlin Smith up to Reynolds. Block there at the net. And that's Destiny Kramer coming up big. Again, tied up at 11-11. Make a wish. .447 here on the clock. Tipped up and away. Bay will drop it across. That tips off the net and goes out of bounds. Sanford wins the point. Rose Schwartz will come in. Now comes Riley Willett. Riley was set to serve, so now Rose will take over. Schwartz has done well, serving from the line. And that one's out of bounds. Sanford pulling ahead. They now lead by 2. Here's the next serve from Schwartz. Piper Franks handles it. Bay back over to Wyatt from the back row. Set and tools it off the blocker. Avery Koenig. Now it's 14-11. We'll get a Mancos timeout here. Here's Rose Schwartz, 14-11. Sanford leads it. Bay taps it over. Brooklyn Reynolds. Now here's Claire Crowther. Piper Franks there to receive it. Up front now, Bay fires a missile down. Oh my goodness, gets the kill. Fires down a laser for the point. Now here's Destiny Kramer again, the mid-range. Here's Crowther from the left side, and she'll fire it in for the kill. 15-12, Sanford leads it now. Finding them on momentum here. Trying to keep it alive, they'll get it back across, and that's gonna be bounce hit. Now goes another service ace. So Sanford has found a roll here. Like I said, it's close in the close at the start. Start to pull away in the middle. Tied up at the net. Bay will knock it over, and she'll just place it in for the point. Got jumbled up there at the net, and again, nonchalantly, the Bay just says, and slaps it over, and it finds a spot. I'll bring up Alexis Lyons now for the serve for Mancos. 16-13, Sanford leads it. (17-13) now. Sanford snagging another point here. 18-13. And another point for Sanford, 19-13. High in the air in the ceiling, it's going to bounce around. They stick with it though. The Lions will dump it across on the long range. Cross and lightly tapped over. Pulls off the blocker, keeps it alive. Tap there at the net. Shasta Bond and Bella Peterson combining. Now leading 20-13. And we'll get a tuition here as Olivia Jukes will come in that front row. He'll dig it out. Diving by Claire Crowther, and Avery Koenig will send it back across. Nice job on the save there. Score over to Reynolds. Reynolds and Avery Koenig rolls it off the blockers. 21-13, and we'll get a Mancos timeout. And get to about 5 o'clock here on the calendar, or on the clock. Well, football will be on here on the YouTube channel at 6 o'clock. At this rate, this volleyball game might bleed into that. So Claire Crowther set to serve, 21-13. Sanford leads it. They trail 2-1 here in the sets. And that one eats up Shasta Bond at the net. So a much needed point for Mancos, trailing 21-14. Jump serve. Rose Schwartz picks it up onto Reynolds. Here's Peterson off the net. They'll reset here. Avery Koenig comes across. Now here's Aubrey Wyatt off the hands, and that'll find the floor. 21-15. Mancos trying to go on a roll here. The serve from Bailey Bay. Rose Schwartz up to Reynolds. And the double hit there on Reynolds. 21-16. Sanford trying to push it to that 5th deciding game. Mancos trying to rebound. That's going to ricochet off of Rose Schwartz. Mancos trying to rally back, trailing now by 4. And now we get a Sanford timeout. 21-17, Mancos still serving. Here's Bailey Bay. Light floater. Rose Schwartz handles it. Up to Reynolds. Here's Bella Peterson. Taps it in. Awkwardly hit. Rattles around the roof. That results is a Sanford point. 22-17. In comes Riley Willett now. Takes over in the front row. And that one gets eaten up on Mancos' end. Sanford now, 23-17. Comes across. Tapped over by Aubrey Wyatt. Reynolds will dump it over. Bailey Bay picks it up. High in the air. Olivia Jukes reaching back is Koenig to save it. Now Crowther dumps it across to the back row. Bay to the front. And that's a double hit. Alexis Lyons. Sanford now with a set point, leading 24-17. Here's Avery Koenig. And they'll stave it off for now. A point coming from Aubrey Wyatt, 24-18. Sanford knocked it into the net a couple times. Jump serve. Dylan Smith knocks it over. Aubrey Wyatt knocks it out of the bounds, and that's the set. We're tied up at 2. Well, it's going to come down to one final first to 15. We're all tied up 2-2. Fans now will begin to, I think, transfer over to the football field. Game starts in an hour. We have unfinished business here. Varsity matchup. The final game, final set between Sanford and Mancos. Ready to get underway.
Sanford takes set number 4 by a score of 25-18. You're tied up 2-2.
Well, here's the fifth and final set to go. First to 15. DeCross, Sanford ricochets to keep it alive, and that'll drop in. Shasta Bond just missing the back line. So Mancos takes a 1-0 lead. And out ahead now, 2-0 is Mancos. Two nothing. Here's Avery Koenig. Drops it in for the point. So Sanford will get on the board. 2-1. And that serve from Claire Crowther goes straight into the net. So Sanford gets the point and then immediately sends one into the net. 3-1. Alexis Lyons looks like she might have just wasted one there, sends it straight into the net. So 3-2. Comes into the back row. Nice pancake there from Crowther. Or will send it over. Dug out by Koenig. Reynolds now. Here's Peterson. Kept alive, and that gets ricocheted out of bounds by Lyons again. The ball will find you. Tied up at 3 here. Sanford trying to pull off the comeback. Down 2-0. Dug out. Reynolds up to Willett. That get ricocheted away. Four-3 now. Sanford out in front. Here's Avery Koenig with the serve. And that one's into the net. Alexis Lyons again. Well, and you're starting to struggle. The ball has a way of finding you. That ball is finding Alexis Lyons right now. Sets it up. Here's Bailey Bay. Dug out by Koenig, who read it all the way. Jewel Calden, who's in there. Moved a bit too late. Was expecting maybe perhaps another set. But now 5-4 the score. Koenig up to Reynolds. Here's Peterson. Into the back row, handled by Jabor. Blocked there at the net. Riley Willett, Jewel Calden combining forces. As Calden will sub out, in comes Shasta Bond. Will set up in the back row, or get ready to serve. Blocked there at the net by Willett. And Aubrey Wyatt trying to deke him and go the other way. Ends up knocking it into the net. And we'll get a Mancos timeout. 7-4, Sanford leads it here in set number 5. First to 15. Sanford in back-to-back weeks going 5 sets. Last time they were in Mancos' spot where they quickly took the first 2 sets. And now where Mancos took the first 2 and then things just sort of unraveled. They kept coming at them. And have taken now 2 sets, including a 27-25 thriller in the 3rd set. Seven 4. Here's Bond with the serve. Wyatt receives it. Now setting up. We'll just push it across on the set. Crowther receives. Reynolds. Riley Willett pushes it out, and that's going to be an illegal hit by Riley Willett. Seven 5 the score. Here's Brooke Jabor. Here's Peterson, blocked at the net. And that's into the net from Aubrey Wyatt. Sanford snagging the point now, 8-5. Got a close one here. Tipped across the net by Destiny Kramer. Riley Willett reaching up and over the net. Eight 6. Bring up Piper Franks, the senior for Mancos. Serve comes across. Dumped over by Brooklyn Reynolds. Kramer sends it over. Here's Crowther now. And too much on that one. And it tipped off the hands. They look to the line judge. It did catch a finger. So Sanford now with 9. Leads 9-6. And they'll have Rose Schwartz, their serving specialist, take over. Riley Willett was due up. Schwartz serves it into the net. Now they'll have Schwartz in that back row until they need to rotate and bring Willett back in up front. Dug up. Here's Koenig. Tips it over the net. Rolls off the blockers in a bit of a blocking push match. And now Sanford 5 away from taking the match. 10-7. Here's Brooklyn Reynolds. Reynolds with the serve. Dug out by Wyatt. Up to Lyons. Bailey Bay just punches it over. Reynolds now. Shasta Bond. Wyatt's there to receive. And that tips away. Point for Mancos. And we'll get a timeout here by Sanford. Nothing doing here. Both teams just trying to find a way. What can they get? 10-8 the score. 40 seconds here in this timeout. Sanford 5 away from taking the match, overcoming an 0-2 deficit. Sanford not taking much time in the timeout. 10-8. Here we go. Kramer sends it across. Reynolds right at the net, tapped down in a line. Well, tapping it down there. It's Avery Koenig. Thought she carried into the net. (11-8). Here's Crowther on the serve. Dug out by Wyatt. Haley Bay will drop it across. Reynolds bumps the set by Koenig. Shasta Bond fires it in and ricochets it off of Wyatt. 12-8. They lost 25-20 in the first. They lost 25-20 in the second. Came back 27-25 in the third as we get a timeout here by Mancos. And then they took set number 4, 25-18. If you're Mancos, you're sitting there thinking, we scored 25 points in those first 3 sets. We should have won this. Fortunately, Sanford able to outlast them in the sudden death 2-point affair in set number 3 and just change the momentum, taking set number 4. And now they are 3 points away from taking this match. So Claire Crowther set to serve again. Cross, Wyatt takes it in the back. Dug out by Schwartz, sends it over. Set, here's Bay, taps it over, and that's out of bounds. Two points away. Crowther sends it over. Cross picked up. Back, Bay knocks it over. Here's Reynolds now, up to Peterson. Trying to snipe that back line and just, tipped off a fingertip. Must have gotten somebody on that front line. I didn't see it. Line judges say it did. Sanford, match point. Claire Crowther with the serve. High in the air in the back row. Lyons chases it down. DeBoer knocks it across. Schwartz digs it. Shasta Bond punches it down, and Sanford completes the comeback. They lost the first 2. Take set number 5 by a score of 15-8. What a game. Sanford showed some resilience, and they get it done. So Sanford wins this one 3-2. They're coming back, taking set number 5. Here for this. Well, stick around until 6 o'clock. You can find it here on the Sanford Events YouTube channel. We'll have football against Mancos coming up next. So stick around here on the channel. Look for the new video that'll pop up. But appreciate you joining in for this volleyball matchup. This has been Skylar Timmons signing off. Until football time. Go.